Hi Bolovies, welcome to Community Living with your girl Malebo. If you're new to the channel, please remember to subscribe, and if you're stopping back by and continuously supporting the channel, thank you. And again, you know the jingle, you can sing it with me. Welcome back. So thank you guys. We're currently sitting at 584 subscribers. We're 16 subscribers away from the 600 mark, so road to 600. So if you haven't subscribed, you might be the 16 subscribers that are going to get the channel to 600, and we're still running the giveaway of 1k subscribers. So when we get to 1k subscribers, one lucky winner is going to win these 2 books. So what you have to do to get these 2 books, or to stand a chance to get these 2 books, is comment down below. It doesn't necessarily have to be about the giveaway, but if you don't have anything to say and you just want to enter the competition, you can just maybe comment with a hashtag giveaway, hashtag road to 1k, hashtag road to 1000, hashtag community living, whatever hashtag you want to use, hashtag financial literacy. You know, that's what this channel is all about. So if you don't know, this is a financial literacy channel for young black professionals, but you don't have to be young or black or professional to get valuable information from the channel, right? So yes, today's episode, as I said, a mouthful. You're probably just like, oh, what are we talking about? So today's episode is about a guide to buying your first car, right? So I've promised you guys 5 part series. So last week we recorded the first one, we released the first one, just giving you a brief introduction as to why did I buy my first, finally decide to buy my first car. So now it's a continuation of that series, and the second part is a guide to buying your first car, right? I'm just gonna go through my notes. I don't know where my phone is. Oh, it's down there. Let me go and get my phone, because I jotted down a couple of notes in terms of what you should look into, what you should consider when you're buying your first car, right? Also, yes, I found my phone. I'm going to be taking you through the points that I've noted down in terms of what you should be looking for when you're buying a car, right? This should basically be your Bible. You should be jotting down everything that I'm mentioning here and just creating that checklist of like, yes, I've considered this, yes, I've considered that, yes, I have this in place, I still have to look into this, I have to do more research about this, and so forth, right? So the very first thing I feel like is very important is finding someone you trust, and this person that you trust with like your life, basically, because you're going to make one of I would say the second biggest financial decision in your life, or it could be the biggest financial decision yet, right? If you haven't bought a house, right? So this person should also be financially savvy. They must be like be able to direct you in terms of something that is financially sound, a deal that makes sense. And when you're becoming too emotional throughout the whole process, they should be like your sounding board to be like, no, come back. This is what we're looking at, this is the purpose, this is what we are considering, this is why you shouldn't take this, and so forth. And obviously they would also have to know about the process of buying a vehicle. Either they have a vehicle themselves, or they've assisted someone throughout the process of buying a vehicle, or their family members have a vehicle, something of that nature, right? So if someone in your family, your friends, and so forth. So that is the very first thing I think anyone should have in place. And then the second thing is determining the affordability of the vehicle that you're trying to purchase, right? So by affordability, what I mean is that you have to determine what the maximum loan amount you're willing to take with the bank, right? And this must take into account the period and the interest that the bank will be willing to lend you, to give to you, right? So also you must take into account that there are miscellaneous things that come with having purchased a car, especially if you're going to go through the vehicle financing route, right? So when you're getting your car via vehicle financing, they need your insurance to be in place, and usually with a comprehensive insurance they need also a car tracker. So you need those two things to be in place, right? So you have to understand that, okay, my monthly installment for the car is not the only cost that I'll be incurring on a monthly basis. You will have to get a car tracker, and also car tracking, like tracking and recovery from the car tracking like service provider, as well as insurance, right? How much insurance are you going to be paying on that vehicle? And also the installment will be determined by the loan amount, right? So that is the first point. And then the second one is determining a budget and sticking to it, right? So the affordability and budget one looks like it's 1 point, but by the budget I just mean max limit, right? This is not determined by the bank. The bank could be willing to give you 700,000 for a car, for all we know, right? Based on maybe your salary, based on your affordability as well, like the bank's perspective of your affordability. But you must determine, okay, how much what loan amount am I willing to take with the bank, and set that budget, so that you're setting the budget for yourself, you're setting the budget for the bank, and you're setting the budget for the dealer as well, because the dealers will come with many deals like, yeah, how much installment do you want to pay monthly? And that's not what you're going to be looking at. You're going to be looking at what is the total cost of this vehicle, what is the total cost of ensuring that I get this car to be mine, right? So if it's 200,000 and your budget is like 200,000, it should not exceed that. So that is basically what you must look out for when it comes to your budget. And then the next thing is the period, right? You must have a long enough period to take into account all this. First of all, if you've never bought a car and you're going through the process mostly on your own, or even with like the assistance of others, they won't be as hands-on as you are, because at the end of the day, it's your baby. You have to ensure that you buy what you want. You have to ensure that you consider all the things that are needed. You have to ensure that you're looking into things that sometimes you don't know anything about, maybe insurance, you don't yet understand what they mean by this and that. You must look into all of those things, right? So give yourself a long enough period to really understand, to do proper market research of saying, yes, am I getting the best deal from this person or that person, or like whether it's the bank, like whether it's the bank's interest or it's the dealership. So you are able to compare that, oh, okay, yes, this car is around this ballpark, right? If it's a used car, for specific mileage, you usually pay around this ballpark. So you then compare and you give yourself enough time to do that, right? So that's what I mean by the period should be long enough for you to go through that whole process. I would recommend a minimum of a month from the day that you're like, I am going to buy a car. And with that, that's a minimum of a month with you looking into the topic almost on a daily basis. So there isn't a day that's passing by and you're not looking into the topic. Either you're just browsing what are they called, car magazines, or you're browsing these brochures for cars. Whatever it is, you're going to car websites, you're giving yourself enough time to go through that whole process, right? And then the next one is determining whether you want a new or used car, right? So this will then like take you back to the very first one, the affordability part, right? Because when you're buying a used car, things like warranty, it might be out of warranty, service plan, it might no longer have a service plan. So you must take that into consideration, that okay, if I'm buying a new car, it probably has a warranty, it probably has a service plan, so I don't have to look into that. But if I'm buying a used car, I have to look into the service plan, I have to look into the warranty. And if you're buying a used car as well, you have to look into the service history. What does this car have? A full service history? If you don't have a full service history, do not buy that car, because it's going to give you problems when you're trying to sell it as well. At the end of the day, even if maybe you're going to service it according to the schedule that it was supposed to, but because some of the services that it was supposed to go to did not happen, then that might be a bit of a problem. And then another thing is for the specifications. If you're not big into cars and you're not that person that already knows what you're going for, what you want, what it looks like, and so forth, consider going to sites like carmex.com, right, to compare the vehicles that you want. So initially when I started the process, I was looking into a Ford Fiesta, Kia Rio, and a Clio, right? So I went to that site and just compared the 3 different vehicles. They give you that option to just compare as many vehicles as you want, see how they perform, especially if they're in the same class. Obviously you're not comparing I don't know, an X6 with a VW Polo Vivo, an X6 is gonna beat it. But you're comparing cars in the same like class and so forth, just to see which one gives you the best, right? Safety related specifications and so forth. So do use those sites to really have a feel of like what kind of vehicle you can get for that class. And then the other thing is to get the right type of credit, right, for what you're going to be buying. So some people take out a personal loan, some people will go for vehicle financing, but some people would be like, okay, vehicle financing requires that I have an insurance, and then they'll take a personal loan or something of that nature. So by that I just mean that if you can, do not take a personal loan because it has a higher interest, right? That is like on average a personal loan has 27, I think it's about 27.5%, and for vehicles I'll say if it's really bad, if you're paying on the high end, it could be plus minus 14%, right? So there's a difference of almost twice the amount. So twice the interest, or not even the amount, twice the interest between the two type of credits. So do consider going for the vehicle financing option. And some people have this notion that, okay, with a vehicle finance, I'm forced to pay it in 72 months or 60 months or whatever. So that's another thing that you have to learn, that you are not forced to pay any credit in any given period. So they just give you a max period for that installment that you're going for. So let's just say, for example, you want to pay 3.5 per month, right? And then you have a loan that's about 200,000. I think one of these days I'll run the numbers with you guys, and then you see, okay, what am I talking about? So your loan is about 200,000, and installment is about 3.5. You probably have to pay that pay back that amount in 5 years, right? So but you can double the amount that you're paying on a monthly basis. So you're not limited to paying the minimum amount that they said you should pay in your installment. You can pay double. So if you pay double, what are you reducing? You're also reducing the period of the loan. So it doesn't mean that you have to pay that vehicle for 60 months or 72 months. And there was a time that someone was trying to offer me a vehicle financing for 90 months, guys. So it doesn't, you're not even limited to 72 months. So there are crazy deals out there, but it also shows that you are getting either too much car that you cannot afford. But if you already followed the steps that I mentioned before, affordability, budget, you don't even have to worry about things like big offered loans that are 90 months long and so forth, right? So that right type of credit also should take into account that you don't get a residual value, or what is called a balloon payment. So residual value or balloon payment basically means that your car, when you get either getting it via vehicle financing or you're getting it via personal loan, they cover only a portion of it. Maybe if it's like 200,000, they'll cover 150,000, and the residual value or balloon payment will be 50,000. Meaning when you're done with paying that 150,000 back to the bank, then you still have to pay 50,000 on top of that. And a lot of people see it as a good deal. They're like, oh, okay, maybe I don't afford the car now with I don't afford a loan of 200,000, but I can get a loan for 150,000 and pay the 50,000 after. So if you don't have the 50,000 now, who's to say you're going to have the 50,000 5 years later? Maybe you are not financially disciplined to also save that money and so forth. So you'd have to take probably a personal loan on top of that, or another vehicle finance to pay off that 50,000. So be aware of things like residual value or balloon payment. So those are synonyms. It'll either be called a residual value or balloon payment, right? So another point, I hope this video is not too long, but these are really good points, guys. If you follow this, you won't make any mistakes or any financial mistakes. You will make mistakes. I've also made mistakes, guys, even while I'm trying to be as careful as I could be with the given process, with the given period that I had set out for myself and so forth. But mistakes are still there to be made, but you're trying to minimize the risk that's associated with purchasing something that you might regret later, right? So another thing is setting up an emergency fund, right? So one of the things that comes with an insurance is that if you're involved in an accident, you have to pay something called an excess, right? So depending on how much cover you have and how much premium you are paying on a monthly basis, you might have maybe an excess of 3,000, 4,500, 6,000, and so forth, right? And one thing you want to do, especially maybe as someone who's buying a car for the first time, meaning that you were probably not driving a car that much, you might get involved in an accident, right? So with that comes this thing of having to pay an excess, and the minimum I've seen is about 3,000 for excess. So if you don't have that readily available, your car might be stuck in your garage or your carport or your parking or wherever it's stuck, right? But you are unable to pay that 3,000 because your insurance will only pay a portion of what they're supposed to pay, but the rest is supposed to be paid by you. So setting up an emergency fund helps you to alleviate yourself from such risk. Another thing is that an insurance does not cover every single thing. Wear and tear of your tires, for example, that is something that you have to cover. So if maybe you have like you get a tire puncture, or your tire gets damaged all completely, and your spare wheel also gets damaged all completely, you'd have to go and buy one, right? That's plus minus 400 depending on the vehicle that you're driving, right? So yeah, that is the second last. Okay, that wasn't second last. This is the second last point, and it's just to be aware of backdoor tactics from the dealership side. They'll always try to have a spin of saying, how much installment do you want to pay? They're not looking at the loan amount to say, okay, you're going to pay at the end of the day 300,000. That time you borrowed maybe 150,000, which is twice the amount that you borrowed. Things like that. So they care about selling the vehicle. So even there are a couple of guys maybe that might tell you the truth, but most of the guys that are in dealerships, they care about selling the vehicle, and they'll really just be like, yeah, how much do you want to pay per month? How much do you want to pay per month? It does not matter how much you want to pay per month. What matters is the loan amount that you're going to get and how much it costs you, how much interest you're going to pay for that loan, right? And then also be aware of buying too much car, because they will also try to sell you too much car. If they'll ask you things like, okay, how much credit limit did the bank give to you? Let's just say you have a good credit record and your affordability is good, and the bank maybe is offering you 500,000. They'll try to sell you a car that's worth 500,000, but do you really need a car that's 500,000? You should ask yourself that, because firstly, you have determined the purpose of this vehicle. Is it just to take you from point A to point B? Is it for bold purposes? Why exactly are you buying this car, right? That should actually be the very first point before you even go to trusting someone. But I think I've already mentioned it in that first episode of like, I had my own reasons of buying a vehicle. You have your own reasons for buying a vehicle, and that should determine how much vehicle you are able to afford, or how much car are you willing to buy. So don't buy too much car, and be careful of really like the dealerships could be selling you a different car. 1 minute they've quoted you on this, the next they're giving you a different vehicle from what you're quoted on. So they're really just shady dealings when it comes to dealerships. And also banks are not like your best friends, so don't think that they have your best interest at heart. Take this with a pinch of salt, and really just always be looking out for yourself. Again, the second last point is negotiation skills, right? So remember when you had to do a negotiation skills course, and you're just like, but no, I'm not in procurement, why am I doing this? So this is the time to go and take that qualification, dust it off, those skills, dust them off, and really just be like, I am going to negotiate for my dear life. Because you have to. The interest, you can negotiate it. The car deal, you can negotiate it. Discounts, like really negotiate every single thing. Compare each dealership against each other. If you get a quote that says that, okay, the same vehicle, maybe you get it for 180 somewhere, and the other person is selling it for 200,000, show them that quote, like, yes, I got a quote for the same vehicle, same specs and everything, and this is how much I'm paying here, and that's how much you're willing to offer. Can you get it lower than 180,000 and so forth? So play the dealerships against themselves, and at the end of the day, also be careful, because when they see that you're doing that as well, they are also going to pull tactics on their side, because they've been doing this for longer, and you're probably going to be the one that get the short end of the stick here if you're trying to play them against each other just a bit too much. So the very last point that I want to discuss is your belief system, or your faith, or all the practices that you have regarding like traditions, Christianity, not Christianity, there was like Christianity, I'm thinking about religion. So this is a period where it has to be maxed out. Whatever you believe in has to be really maxed out, because you're going to be stressed and tested to a point where you're like, what is going on? Can someone really just tell me what is going on? So I think with me, if days, even hours after, even not even days after having bought a baby PHO, there was so many things that were happening, and I was just like, what is going on? What is going, like, I really didn't understand. But what helped me through the process is that I was in such a good place spiritually. I was really in the best place possible for me to go through everything that I went through, and still and that I'm still going through, but I'm still like very composed, and I'm also enjoying you know, this period with baby PHO, because she's new, and I'm just like, oh my baby, like I really enjoy being in her. I really enjoy driving, and it's really been a beautiful experience, as much as I'm not like 100% perfect when it comes to my driving. But there are things that really stretched my faith, and stretched me in ways that I didn't know I could be stretched, you know. And I really thank God. Sorry if you don't believe in God, I really thank God. Okay, I'm not going to apologize, guys. I am a Christian, and this is a channel of someone that believes in God, and it's not to say that what you believe in is less important. It's just me declaring what is happening in my life, right? So I really thank God for the period itself, and for everything that I've went through and I'm still going through, but I'm stronger because of it, and I'm with him throughout, and I can feel his presence throughout. And it's because of the spiritual journey that I'm going through. And I really implore you to have your spiritual I don't know what to call it, but your spirit to be filled with whatever you believe in. If it's Amadlozi, like really max out. If it's God, really max out, because you are going to be tested. And if you were not tested, and you were one of the lucky few people that really just enjoyed their baby, and there was nothing that happened after, thank God as well. So guys, that's all I had to say for this episode, and I really hope that you've learned a couple of things from me and the journey. Yo guys, it's 22 minutes long. Are you kidding me? Sorry, I'm really sorry for such a long recording. I'm really sorry, but I really hope you've learned quite a lot. So next week we are going to look at what you shouldn't do, or what to avoid when buying your first car. So I hope it's going to be shorter, because this is very long, but I love you either way, and God bless you. Keep safe.